Lately, I've been sitting right here on the corner of my dining room table doing my schoolwork from here. I have my books and my coffee and my computer and everything I need to get my work done from the dining room table. My husband works at one end of the house and I work in the other to stay away from each other and not bother each other. But I choose this place more because this is what I get to see. As I sit here working, I get to look out over the city of San Francisco and see the glorious blue sky and the open spaces and the sunshine. It makes working from this space on my dining room table much better place to work. Well, one day last week I was sitting here grading papers as I always I am kind of involved in the grammar of a freshman English paper, not very exciting, when something said I should look up. And when I did, oh my God, I could not believe it. Almost fell out of the chair. Right there outside my window, staring at me, was this glorious rainbow. I've never seen one so bright. I thought I could just reach out and pick the pieces off of it. It was just astoundingly bright and vivid. And the rainbow went up above my neighbor's roof, so I couldn't see that end of it. But the other end went right down to the ground and touched the ground, right down on my corner. There's a little hamburger joint down there. They have good hamburgers, but nothing like the pot of gold that's supposed to be down there. I was just amazed, and I thought, well, I want to see the whole thing, so I decided to go up onto my roof. I climbed up the stairs to my roof, and there was a complete rainbow from one horizon to the other horizon. I don't think I've ever seen that, with the city of San Francisco below, and I've certainly never seen one with that many vivid colors. And I was so excited. I just stood there in awe and amazement. And you know, rainbows have always had that kind of awe and amazement for people. It's been in folklore and literature and poetry, and almost all religions have something to say about rainbows. Uh, they seem to be some kind of supernatural intervention into our world. Um, of course, we have a scientific explanation. It's light passing through a raindrop, breaking the spectrum of light, refracting the spectrum of light. There is an explanation, but you know, I'm sorry. Standing there on my rooftop, looking at that glorious rainbow, my mind was not saying, oh, that's a subject of refraction of light. No, my mind simply said, that is God. And you know, I think that's similar to the feeling that Noah got, standing there on the top of the wet ark, looking out at the destruction in front of him. He had been through the world's worst flood. It had destroyed his entire world, every friend, every person he knew, his land, his home, his crops. Everything he knew had been destroyed. There was nothing left but the soggy, stinking, mud-covered death and destruction in front of him. Surveying this horror, Moses is distraught, but then he feels behind him. The sun is coming out from the clouds, and then in front of him, amazingly, little specks of light start appearing until these beautiful colors form themselves into an arc right there in front of him over all this destruction. Genesis tells us that that rainbow that Noah saw was the symbol of God's covenant. God promises Moses, promises Noah, God promises Noah in a covenant promise that God will never destroy the earth like that again. There was nothing there, but then there was a rainbow. And that was God's promise. God says, I have set my bow in the clouds, and it shall be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. When I bring my clouds over the earth and the bow is seen in the clouds, I will remember my covenant that is between me and you and all living creatures of flesh, and the waters will never again become a flood to destroy the earth, to destroy all flesh. The rainbow, The rainbow is the sign of the covenant that I make between you and every living creature that is with you for all future generations. For all generations. That's us. Forever. No matter what. God is with us. The Bible is full of all kinds of covenants like that. Noah's covenant is one of many, but most of those covenants are what are called conditional covenants. God promises one thing if God's people respond with their side of the promise. It's a two-way covenant, a conditional covenant. The covenant with Abraham was that God would give him many descendants, the future of the earth, but only if Abraham circumcised his children. And then similarly, God's covenant with Moses, with the Ten Commandments, God promises to always be there for the God's people and to never desert them, but only if they keep the law. The laws on the tablets and all those hundreds of laws that God gave in Leviticus. God makes a covenant promise, but we have our side to keep in keeping those laws. But this covenant, Noah's covenant, is different. God makes a promise forever, for all generations, no matter what. We don't have to do anything. It's an unconditional covenant. God's rainbow shows that God will never desert us. That rainbow is really special. So standing there on my rooftop, looking at the rainbow and the city below it, I started thinking, in that city, there's death and destruction. There's murders, and worse, there's virus, disease spreading over the land, blotting out many people just like the flood did. It's not a beautiful place, but there's that rainbow. That rainbow gives us the promise that God will never, ever blot out humanity and life like that again. COVID may be bad, but we have the rainbow and God's promise. As God did for Noah, God does for us. We have an everlasting covenant of hope, of promise, of God with us. The rainbow during a storm shows us that. And if you think about it, what an amazing symbol is a rainbow. First of all, it's not really there. There's nothing tangible you can touch. It's really just an illusion we see in our eyes of light bouncing off of raindrops. But it's there, even though it's an illusion. And that proverbial end of the rainbow down there at that hamburger joint on my corner, if you try to go there, it won't be there. It moves. And a rainbow is different for every person that sees it. It's in different places. It's really an illusion. But when I saw that vivid rainbow up on my roof, it was certainly, totally real. What a great symbol. Illusory, but real. And then, the rainbow is really an unusual, rare occurrence. It always feels awesome and amazing when we see it. And the reason rainbows are so rare, I found out by doing a little research. They had to take just exactly the right conditions. You have raindrops, and the sun has to come into that rainbow at exactly a 42-degree angle. Anything more than 42 degrees, too low or too high, no rainbow. And that happens very rarely. So every time we see a rainbow, it's kind of a miracle, but it's real. And we all learned as children, rainbows have those 7 colors. You remember Roy G. Biv? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. I've never quite known what color indigo is, but they're supposed to have those 7 colors. But if you think about it, that's not really true. When I saw that rainbow out there the other day, the colors were there, but they all blended together. Red went to orange, went to yellow. They blended together. They were really thousands of colors all mixed together in that rainbow, but yet they form this beautiful arch, all unified in some way or other. That's not unlike us. We're a rainbow people. We're different sizes, we're different colors, we're different nationalities, we're different ages, we're different sexual orientations. Human beings are this mix of colors and types, but sometimes, in those rare occasions, we come together and we form this beautiful arch. We become a good, beautiful group working together in all of our diversity. It's not rare. It is rare, but it happens like rainbows. And lately, that diversity and harmony has led to many different people kind of adapting the rainbow as their symbols. Most lately in San Francisco area and around the world, the LGBTQ movement has adopted the rainbow and the rainbow flag as their sort of symbol of all these different types of people working together. It's really a nice symbol. In San Francisco, particularly in June, Gay Pride Month, the city's just awash in rainbows. It's kind of beautiful. But I had one of my really conservative friends tell me he didn't want anything to do with rainbows because he didn't support those gay people. And I think that's really just a shame. But it's kind of appropriate. His hatred and bigotry and lack of inclusion, he didn't really want a rainbow, I don't think. The rainbow symbolizes love and diversity and inclusion and promise and hope. My friend wasn't like that at all, but I would debate whether anybody stole the rainbow from him. I think he gave it up in all of his thinking. The rainbow promise from Noah was for Noah, for us, and for him. He just didn't want to accept it. So when you think about rainbows, think about me standing there on my roof, looking out over the COVID-covered city and realizing that rainbow offered hope for San Francisco. Think about Noah standing on that dank, wet, battered ark, looking out over the devastated land and the beautiful rainbow, giving promise to Noah. And now, as we stand looking at our world and our country so divided by ideology, by race, by religion, we don't seem to be able to work together on anything anymore. And now disease is ravaging the earth, but yet in the midst of all that horror, right there in front of us, right there across the sky, is God's rainbow in all of its glory. And God's covenant promise is with us always. God promises to be with us, to stand with us, to never let the earth be destroyed again, forever, no matter what. God's covenant, God's promise is sure. No matter floodwaters and storms that we endure, no matter divisions dividing us, God promises never to let the earth be destroyed, to let us be destroyed. God promises to bring us together in peace, to give us love and to help us share love, to bring justice to the earth, to heal our diseases, to stand with us, to love us. That's what the rainbow means. That's why that symbol, that covenant promise is so important. The God of rainbows is with us forever. Hallelujah. Amen.